And the students went down, and the chief of police told them that if they insisted on staying in the building, that they were going to be arrested.
Cleveland Seller was a member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee that had moved in from Atlanta.
I, at that point, was on the campus.
They arrested all of the students that was in the bowling lane. Then for 3 nights, it was some type of demonstration that was going on all the time, and then they brought in the National Guard.
980, this is 981. We wouldn't know where that.
About 8 o'clock that night, the students started taking some wood that was scattered around the campus and built a bonfire.
I understand they got some lumber you see burning in the street there, and they've got, well, probably some bottles or bricks or something. But that's all. That won't kill anybody. But the way it's going now, if these gardeners coming in, somebody's going to get hurt.
That night, it was some 300 all total law enforcement officers in that area around the campus. The police called in the fire department and asked them to put the bonfire out.
Everybody felt the tension of what was going on at stake, but Delano went up there because his mother worked on campus. She was a maid, and this is something he did every day after practice. He was around his friends, and that's what we did.
I was out on the campus as a fireman went to try to put out the bonfire. Somebody threw a banister off an old porch, and when it hit in the fire, it popped up in his face.
Some of the officers thought that he was, in fact, shot, but there was no response to that immediately.
And that was what they wanted to say, that somebody shot at him, but that wasn't nobody. None of the students had any weapons or anything.
Then 8 highway patrolmen with white helmets on walked up on the side of the hill, and 1 local police, and they positioned themselves at an angle on the top of that hill. The police opened fire as I had come across the street. The darkness turned to light, and boom. I mean, the shooting went on. It went for 8 seconds. It was like an eternity. I was shot in the left shoulder. And you could actually hear the students saying, you know, I'm hit, help me. It was blood all over the place. There were some 50 students that were wounded. 27 of them ended up being recorded at the hospital. 3 of those students were killed.
My grandmother was summoned to come to the hospital late in the morning, and by the time I really realized what was going on, there just was a lot of crying outside the house. I could hear people crying.
The sheriff showed up to the infirmary with all his deputies. I knew that my goose was cooked. I was being charged with assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer, grand larceny, breaking and entering, arson, and riot. I was looking at about 88 years. They put me in the back of a police car, and they shut down I-26 from Orangeburg to Columbia, brought me to prison, and they said that I was in the cell block that housed death row inmates.
Cleveland was made a scapegoat.
It has become apparent that the incident last night was sparked by Black Power advocates who represent only a small minority of the total student bodies.
They began to concoct this lie about the students charging the police officers, exchange of gunfire. The students were off the campus, and the students were trying to get to downtown Orangeburg at 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night to burn it down. I mean, it was so idiotic.
The facts are that the confrontation took place off the campus while South Carolina State Highway Patrolmen, SLED agents, and some National Guard personnel were protecting a fire truck dispatched to put out a fire caused by a flammable liquid bomb.
We had a little fire out there with some sticks and a little bit of wood. And so the police officers from Orangeburg was at the area. And so they came up and they started blasting.
The actions leading to the 3 deaths and the numerous injuries came only after an extended period of sniper fire from the campus, and not until an officer had been felled during his efforts to protect life and property.
There was no exchange of gunfire. And it did not happen off campus.
The police used excessive lethal force. They used double-aught buckshot. That's for big game, deer, and that's to kill. They used rifles and pistols. Some of them even had their own personal guns that they were firing.
A reporter had a camera and videotaped showing that those kids were shot in the back. But they took the camera and destroyed the tape.
Did you find the problem in Orangeburg to be with the local residents or with outside agitators?
We've never had any problem with the local residents of Orangeburg or Orangeburg County.
I am the only person that's ever been arrested.
Demonstrations down at Orangeburg before.
We went through 2 days of testimonies, the sheriff, the chief of police, everybody. Nobody connected me to anything that happened on the night of the 8th. So the judge asked the prosecutor, where was their evidence? He said he couldn't find the evidence, but he remembered that on the night of the 6th, when the fire truck came into the parking area, that I had gotten on top of the fire truck, flicked a bic, and said, "Burn, baby, burn." And that was the evidence that convicted me for committing a one-man ride.
Delano received most of the gunshot wounds, and what I understand, over 20. My grandmother was there at his side, and he asked her to repeat 23rd Psalm because that was one of his favorite verses in the Bible, and she finished it, and he passed.
What happened in Orangeburg was a true conviction of the state of South Carolina as related to murder. They were saying that students were firing at them, but that wasn't true.
Then they draped a veil of secrecy and silence around this incident, would not allow anybody to talk about it. The governor at that point wouldn't talk about it anymore. And for 35, going on 40 years, there has never been any kind of addressing of the issue in Orangeburg.